doing, everybody? And welcome to Wisconsin Sports on the Go with Trage. I'm your host, Trage. It is Wednesday, the start of the madness. It all started last night. We got all kinds of excited. First round, the first four. The first four was happening last night. A lot of good action. Lots of good action there in the first four. That Wagner and Howard game, there's a lot of people who are going to look past 2-16 teams squaring off against each other, but there was some very good guard play in that game. Very good shooting. Howard made it close at the end there, and they put a run on Wagner late, had a chance to tie late in that ball game. That was a fantastic game. Also got into a little NIT last night. I know a lot of people aren't Badger fans. We know about the NIT. We were in there last year, but a lot of people don't like the NIT. I saw Iowa was playing Kansas State last night in the NIT, so I tuned into that for a little bit. A lot of good games. A lot of good basketball happening last night there. Getting closer and closer to first round action. That Friday game, the night game in Brooklyn. Just all kinds of excitement for Badger fans waiting for James Madison. But hey, we got lots to jump into today. I'm going to reveal my bracket. My top 64, who's going to be my number one, right? At the end of the day, who's going to be my number one team? So I'm going to go through my bracket today. Got lots to jump into. Bucks, Celtics in action tonight. I want to talk about that. Also looking at the Brewers. I got a little bit to talk about the Brewers here. And then some random Badger stuff that I saw out there. And I just want to talk about a little bit of topics and everything like that. So right away, I want to talk about the Bucks. Bucks will be in action tonight. They will be taking on the Boston Celtics. That game will be in Boston. Now, first, second place team, you would think this would be for a little bit more. The Celtics they got themselves a commanding lead right now in the Eastern Conference right now, 10 games up on the Bucks. But hey, this game means a lot, right? This is your measuring stick if you are Milwaukee. Heading to Boston, a 6:30 tip for that game. It's going to be on ESPN. It's going to be nothing bigger than that, right? At the end of the day, you get the 2 seed, you get the 1, it doesn't matter. At the end of the day, come playoff times, you get to the Eastern Conference Final. How do you measure up against a team like Celtics? I'm not going to say that the Bucks aren't as good as the Celtics because I believe, this Bucks team gets healthy. You get, like we've seen, Chris Middleton came back. You get Giannis back going, and if this team finds that team chemistry that I feel like they've been lacking at times this year, this could be a deadly team. You got Giannis Antetokounmpo. This is one of the best players in the world. You got Damian Lillard. This guy can ring it up. You got Chris Middleton. He's a 3-level scorer. This guy, he's all over the place. He's a great, if he's your number 3, that's a solid number 3. That's a great number 3. You look at the flip side, you look at the Celtics. What do they got? You look at Jaylen Brown. You look at Jason Tatum. 2 stars, right? You got 2 stars, Dame, Giannis. You have that third guy. You always have to have that third piece, right? The Celtics added that with Kristaps Porzingis. That's what I think, is that he really adds an element to that team. The Bucks got that guy back in Chris Middleton now. Now it's a matter of, can the role players step up, right? You got Jay Crowder. He had a big game the other day. Can he continue to roll off that? Bobby Portis. The role players will play dividends for the Bucks down the stretch here, and I really do think they will when they go and face Boston here. Bucks leading into this one, they've been playing well as of late here. They're 7-3 over their last 10, averaging about 114 a game, 42 rebounds, 25 assists, 6 steals, 3 blocks per game right now, shooting about 47% from the field. Their opponents are averaging about 111, so they're giving up just about as much as they're scoring right now. So that if you want to take your good with your bad, that's your good with your bad right there, is they're going to play in a close game. Celtics, in their last 10, 8-2. They're averaging about 122 a game, 46 rebounds, 29 assists, 7 steals, 6 blocks per game right now, 49% from the field, and their opponents are averaging 104. So solid defense out of the Celtics. This game, we've talked about the Bucks defense, and we've talked about them playing better on the defensive end. This is going to be that where they really do stand, because when we were watching this Bucks defense start to kind of take off, I'm not going to say they weren't playing great teams, but they weren't playing great teams, right? They weren't playing the best of the best. When they went on that West Coast road trip, that's when they started to face a little bit better of talent, and I think that's where we really saw that this Bucks defense is getting better, but it's not quite there. That's the big thing, is it's not quite there. Injury report right now, Drew Holiday looks to be out with a shoulder. Jason Tatum was listed as out. I don't know what his game status will be for this one. And along with them, Al Horford, Sam Hauser, You're going to have a bunch of guys that looks like coming off of injury or on the injury report for this one. I know they were out for that last game, the Celtics last matchup. I don't remember who that was right away here. I think it was the Pistons. Yeah, the Pistons there. So those guys are all going to be basically game time decisions as I'm looking now. Jaylen Brown's also listed as a game time decision, but I'm going to take a shot in the dark with the Bucks coming to town. And the last time the Bucks and Celtics faced off, the Bucks ran them out of the building. I'm going to assume that this Celtics team is going to play just about everybody, and they're going to try to bounce back in this game. So it's going to be big. Can the Bucks defense handle the likes of Jason Tatum, Jaylen Brown, and this rest of cast of guys on this team? Can their offense score at a high enough clip to keep up with the Celtics? Those are going to be the two intangibles that you have to watch for in this game here. How does Giannis play in this game along with Dame, right? We talked about in the past here how when both of them are on the court, it seems like we don't get the best out of them. We don't get the best out of both. What do they show against one of the best teams in the NBA right now? That's what we're really watching for here. Bucks, Celtics. That's going to be coming up tonight here, 6:30 for that one on ESPN. Great game to start out your nights. Just getting home from work, right? You're just getting home from work. You're just kicking the feet up. ESPN, tune in to ESPN. Watch yourself a little Bucks and Celtics if you're not going to tune into some of the first four games there in the NCAA tournament. Or, I mean, the men's NIT tournament's tipping off, so you want to watch a little NIT basketball. I got to say, I talked about it yesterday, little NIT action there, and I had a thought today. I was thinking about it, right? Because, I remember talking about it yesterday there, and I was thinking about it, and I was like, why do teams decide, hey, I don't want to be a part of this. I would rather sit out. It's not for me, that kind of thing. And when it boils down to it, is it coaches being too proud? Is it coaches being too proud of themselves, too high on the horse to want to enter their name in the NIT because it's not the NCAA tournament, so it's not big time, so it's not for them? Is that what it is? I mean, because that's the only thing that would really tick me off a lot. That'd be the big thing to tick me off. Is it because Rick Pitino is just so up high on his horse there that he doesn't feel like it? Because we saw a lot of teams sit out. We saw a lot of teams sit out of this NIT. And then you see teams, like I said, last night I was watching Iowa and Kansas State, and I don't have the full NIT bracket up in front of me here, but I'm going to imagine there's a couple of decent teams that decided, hey, we're going to go square off in the NIT tournament, and that's going to benefit us at the end of the day. I really did think last year that the Badgers benefited from going into the NIT tournament. And looking at the NIT, I mean, you had teams like Minnesota. Minnesota got in there. Virginia Tech's in there. UCF was in there. LSU, not a great year for LSU, but they were in there. And then you look at teams like Xavier. They also jumped into that NIT tournament. So, I just look at it and I say to myself, why do teams think that it's not going to benefit them end of the day? That's my biggest question. And that's a question I think everybody has for this is, why do some of these teams just believe the NIT tournament will not benefit their guys, will not benefit their program end of the day to play those extra games? I don't know. To me, if I was a coach, if I was coaching a college team and we, for some reason, we sucked that year, I'm not saying I'd be a good coach, but we sucked that year and we didn't make the big dance. I mean, if I had a group of guys who I wanted to get more playing time together, I'd jump in there. I would jump into the NIT tournament, because guess what? End of the day, it might not be the big dance. I mean, it's not in tournament, right? That's what people call it, the NIT, not in tournament. And it might be clarified as that, but there are teams that have come out of the NIT and proven to be good the next year. I believe Virginia was in the NIT, and the next year or year after, they ended up winning the national championship. And I believe Xavier was in there at one point, and the next year they made a deep run. And so when you look at teams like that, it's like, well, it benefit. You could say that that's what benefited them. You could not say that's what benefited them. But at the end of the day, if Tony Bennett jumped into the NIT tournament, what makes Rick Pitino think that his team couldn't benefit from getting into there? It's just, oh, well, we can't jump in because I got so much on my plate. I got to recruit and get these transfers and everything. You have assistant coaches. Assistant coaches can go do your deeds for you. That's their jobs, is to do your deeds. Bo Ryan wasn't the guy who did all the recruiting at Madison. It was a lot of Greg Gard. I mean, a lot of people don't like Greg Gard, but it was a lot of Greg Gard who did the recruiting for Bo Ryan. That's your assistant coach's jobs. And yet Rick Pitino's going to tell us, oh, he's got so much stuff to do. No, that's bull. That's bull hooky. Get that out of here. I mean, nobody really, end of the day, you care, you don't care. Most people don't. But, I mean, looking at a college basketball standpoint, I don't look at teams in the NIT. I see some teams in the NIT where I say to myself, if you put a team like Pitt and St. John's in there, and a couple of the other ones got snubbed from the NCAA tournament, Seton Hall was another one. If they jump into that NIT tournament and they run the field, wouldn't that show something? Wouldn't that show something that says, hey, we just ran every one of these? I mean, they're not like they're garbage teams. Iowa had some pretty good wins on the year. They were on the cusp of getting in. Ohio State, I don't think Ohio State is in this NIT tournament, but Ohio State is another team that when you look at them, they could have easily jumped into the tournament field at some point there. I mean, just you look at the teams that you could potentially play, and I mean, it's not like you're playing cupcake teams along the way. I mean, you look at Princeton was a pretty good team coming out of the Ivy. You got Wake Forest in there. That was a solid team. And then I'm just looking, Ohio State is in there. Ohio State was 20-13. They had a midseason collapse and couldn't win a game against good teams. Other than that, Ohio State wasn't a bad team. They had a lot of crap go wrong for them, and Holtman got fired, and it was just a disaster at Ohio State. But Ohio State's in there. I mean, you look up the line, and Seton Hall's in there as that 1 seed in that tournament, so good for Seton Hall to get in there. And then you got teams like Indiana State, another team that got snubbed out of the field. They jumped in there. Villanova's in there. I mean, you got teams in this NIT tournament where you can say to yourself, those are solid teams. And for teams like St. John's to just go out there and say, well, this wouldn't benefit us and basically blah, 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 I don't like it. That's bull hooky. That's bull hooky to me. And I don't respect it. I don't agree with it. I don't think that there's anything wrong with the NIT tournament. I got to be honest with you. I don't think there is. People make fun of it. People make jokes about it. I get why they do it. But at the end of the day, it's more games for your guys at your university. You didn't play well enough during the year to get into that select group of 68. And, you're going to have like Indiana State or Indiana State's case or St. John's, you have bid stealers. So you just got snubbed out. And that happens. You're going to have that when you have automatic bids get in. So you technically didn't get the top 68 teams into that tournament field. Now they talk about expanding the tournament. I don't know if I'd like expanding the tournament. I don't know because, somebody's always going to be ticked, right? You expand the tournament field from, say, 68 and you go up into the mid-70s, right? You go up to the next 70s or 80s or whatever you want to do. They talk about 90 at one point. But if you put in, let's just say, I'm not going to do the complete math, but you put more teams into that first round there. So you get let's just say 76, right? You put 76 teams. You add 8 more teams to the field. Now, what's that 77th team going to say? Well, why did they get in before us? Then the 78th team is going to say, well, why did they get in before us? You're always going to have a problem. It doesn't matter what you do. You can keep on moving it back. You can get 164 teams into a college basketball playoff, and you will still have the 165th team that complains. It doesn't matter. Just like college football, you can expand that college football playoff out as far as you want, and you can keep on moving it. You can keep on moving the goalposts, right? But at the end of the day, the next team's going to complain. It doesn't matter. There's always going to be that team like Florida State or whoever it was who believes they should have gotten in over another team who will complain. It doesn't matter what you do. It doesn't. And I believe the NIT, it doesn't get as much recognition for what I believe it actually does for college basketball. And I think it gives players more time. It gives young guys, young teams more time to develop playing basketball. Because once the season is done, You might get scrimmages. You might get all this crap, but you don't have actual basketball going on until next season. You might play some whatever you want to call it, overseas or anything like that. You might play different kind of, I don't know, the YMCA, whatever you want to call it. You get out there and you play non-competitive, right? But if you're in the NIT tournament, you're still in a tournament. You're still playing for something. You're still playing competitive basketball. I saw guys in the NIT tournament last night when I was watching that Iowa and Kansas State game. Those guys were playing like they were in March Madness, like they were playing for their playoff lives, like they were trying to win a national championship. I think that's awesome. I mean, you get teams together like that, that's fun basketball. I hate when people, and I heard like Jay Billis was talking about it and a bunch of other guys, they said, we don't even watch the NIT. We don't care. You know, other stuff's going on. I get that. You might have other stuff going on. But this doesn't mean that this is just a stupid tournament or it's just this crap show or it's just bad teams or anything like that. I have nothing wrong with it. So end of the day, I was thinking about it today, and I really do hate the way that teams will just, it seems like it's just the blue bloods, the bigger programs, and in Rick Pitino's case, just a guy who thinks he's higher up than what he is, who just deny that thing because they're like, it's not for me. That's not me. That's not me. I deserve to be in the big dance. I shouldn't be here, whatever. I mean, you have teams, like I said, Seton Hall and Indiana State. Those two teams, I had those two teams getting into the field of 68. Those two teams were left out. They accepted the invite to the NIT. They're in there. I think that's great. I think Indiana State has got a way now to prove, hey, we might not have played the greatest competition all year long, but guess what? Now we are in this NIT. We're playing some good teams that have also, I mean, you play Iowa. Iowa's got some big wins on the year. I believe they beat Illinois at one point there. So, I mean, they got good wins on the year. You get up against a team like Iowa, Indiana State wins that game. That shows, hey, we beat Iowa. We beat a Power 5 team who's got some good wins on their resume. We should have been in. And then next year, you get in that same situation. I really do believe the committee will look at it different. They'll say, hey, you know, this team, they brought back everybody. They just won that NIT tournament. Now you might say, oh, the NIT, nobody cares. They just won this tournament, and they beat some pretty good teams along the way. Some good teams that are now showing up this year, too. I don't know. That's just where I stand on the whole thing. I think the NIT is a good thing. I really do. I think the NIT is a good thing for college basketball. So with that, before I move on here and get into the Brewers, I just wanted to mention a couple of our sponsors here. First, your hometown team, Century 21 Gold Key Realty. Call Peggy Sue or Anna to find your dream home, or if you're looking to sell. Find them on Facebook at your hometown team, Century 21 Gold Key Realty, or stop in and see them at their location in Marshfield. Also, Sports Scene, sports cards, and memorabilia. Stop in there in the Marshfield Mall and see Al. He's got everything you need, from sports cards to memorabilia. He's got jerseys, model stock cards, anything you need at the Marshfield Mall there. Sports Scene in Marshfield. Also, Pittsville Farm and Home Center. At the store, they serve you anything from hydraulic hoses to red roses. Stop in and see the awesome crew at Pittsville Farm and Home Center in Pittsville, Wisconsin. But with that, I want to get into the Brewers a little bit today. We're getting closer. We're getting closer and closer to opening day here. So I wanted to project my Brewers opening day roster. Today, I'm going to start with the position players. I just want to list off my position players, who I have getting in there. And I mean, most people have the same thoughts when it comes to position players for the Brewers. So at catcher, of course, I have William Contreras. And then I have Eric Hayes. I have Hayes getting in there. This guy's been hitting bombs for the Brewers. I got a high average, hitting a lot of tanks for his Brewers team in spring. I don't think there's a way you can keep him off the roster. I think Hayes makes the opening day roster. My next one I got, Gary Sanchez. I believe Sanchez will make the opening day. I'm pretty darn sure Sanchez will make the opening day roster, unless if he gets cut or has another injury. Sanchez will be on the opening day roster. And then first base, I got Rhys Hoskins. I mean, yeah, that's self-explanatory. I don't have to explain Rhys Hoskins. The guy's going to play. Bryce Terang, already announced as the second baseman. We're going to see a little Bryce Terang action. Just hope that bat comes along this year because the glove's phenomenal. Just got to see the bat come along a little bit. Willie Adames, he's got my shortstop spot. I mean, Willie been hitting a little bit better here in spring. Hopefully that transfers over into this spring, summer, fall, and he just rolls all year long because that's what we've been waiting for out of Willie for a while here. The power's coming back. We've seen a couple games now with a couple bombs. Hopefully that continues here moving into the regular season. Joey Ortiz I have at third base. I think the Brewers will start Joey Ortiz at third base there on opening day. I believe he will make the opening day roster. My outfield, Yelich, Churro, Frelick, and Mitchell. Now, Frelick, he's going to be the interchangeable guy. He's going to be outfield. He's going to be third base. This is where it might affect Joey Ortiz a little bit. Might be able to move guys around second or short, wherever you want to move guys. Sal Frelick will be that multiple guy there. I believe Jackson Churro will start opening day. I believe Mitchell will probably start opening day along with Yelich, and I believe that will put Frelick at third base there then for that opening day matchup there. My DHs for this upcoming year, this is where I got dicey. I know Sanchez, and I got Contreras and Yelich in there. Jake Bauers is going to be my guy because he's going to be that he can play first, he can play outfield, he can also DH for you. He's that switch hitter. But that's my question mark then is when I go to my bench, I have Bauers and Monasterio, but I'm not completely a killer on Owen Miller. I've always thought Owen Miller has been solid for this Brewers team, and I could see him, if he doesn't make the opening day roster, being a part of the roster pretty darn soon after that, because this guy can hit. We know he can hit. He helped carry this team for a long time last season before he kind of cooled off, and then we didn't see him for a while. So maybe, and just maybe, we might get a little Owen Miller action there in this Brewers starting lineup or off the bench at some point this year. So that's my projected position players for the Brewers in this upcoming season here. And I'd love to hear what you guys think of that, what you guys think. Leave a review, message us on Facebook there at Wisconsin Sports on the Go with Trades. Let us know. Let me know what your projected position players are in this upcoming year. But with that, a couple of our sponsors here before we move on. A couple more of our sponsors here. First, Game Day Supply in Onalaska. Do you have a sports club or team? Are you looking for some sweet custom uniforms or apparel? Check out the awesome crew at Game Day Supply to help your team get the sweetest gear. Find them on Facebook at Game Day Supply or online at GameDaySupply.net. Also, Sport and Spine Clinic in Greenwood. Stop in there in Greenwood and see Chad. If you've been injured lately, you need some physical therapy, stop in Greenwood, see Chad. He'll get you right. He'll get you back to work, back on the field, back on the court, wherever it is. He'll get you back out there. Sport and Spine Clinic in Greenwood. Also, Marshfield Motors Speedways, located just 3 miles out of Marshfield on County Road H there. If you're heading out west on County Road H, you can get there. Stop in there, and tons of fun. You will have one of the greatest racetracks you'll see around. Great racing and family fun. Plan some fantastic summer days, nights at the track. That's all I got to say. Marshfield Motor Speedways, located just outside Marshfield on County Road H. With that, though, I want to get into the Badgers a little bit here. I got some topics I wanted to cover for the day, and that was, first off, Sam Decker. I haven't heard from Sam Decker in a while, but I saw a little bit. He got a little angry because in the CBS broadcast, they said whatever about Wisconsin, we haven't had an AJ Store type in years. And then that's basically what they said there. So Jordan Taylor first started it. Former Badger there, Jordan Taylor first started it, tweeted out, and said Johnny Davis was here 2 years ago. Sam Decker was there not long ago. They got to sue for defamation right there. Love that tweet out of Jordan Taylor there. And then Sam Decker goes, we also haven't had a dynamic offense like this in decades, according to CBS, even though we had the most efficient offense in NCAA history. You look at this Badger team, when they went to the Final Four during Sam Decker's sophomore year, they were 30-8, and they averaged 73.5 points per game that year. In 2014, 2015, the Badgers had a 36-4 record and averaged 72.5 points per game that year. Decker was, 1,000% correct. This guy was correct. The Badgers' offense was good, and they are averaging, I believe, just above what they were averaging back in the day there. The difference is the defense. the teams that Sam Decker and Frank Kaminsky played on, and even Jordan Taylor, those defenses were 1,000 times better. When you were averaging 73 points per game, you won games 73-50. I mean, that's just how games went back then because the defense was just that good. Now the defense is bad, so the points per game have to go up. Otherwise, this Badger team would be 13-20 right now. They wouldn't be 20-13. They'd be 13-20 or 22-13. Sorry, they'd be 13-22 instead because the defense wouldn't be able to hold its own for the offense if they were that bad. So, I mean, CBS was wrong in saying that the Badgers haven't had an offense like this in decades. That's kind of ridiculous because the Badgers, I really do. I mean, you would say to yourself then, would you rather have, and I guess this is a question for myself here, would you rather have the 2014-2015 Wisconsin Badgers, or would you rather have the 2023-2024 Wisconsin Badgers? And I'm going to be honest with you, you would pick the 2014-2015 Wisconsin Badgers all day long. If you're a national broadcaster and you said the 2023-2024 Wisconsin Badgers, I'd call you nuts. I'd say you don't have a stinking clue because that team was 1,000 times better. I shouldn't say 1,000. They weren't 1,000 times better. But, I mean, you can compare position by position. You go big man. Frank Kaminsky to Steven Crowell. Who's better? I'll wait. Thank you. Sam Decker to Tyler Wall. Who's better? Okay. I mean, we've got our answers with two guys already. Bronson Koenig or Chucky Hepburn. That one gets a little bit closer. It gets closer, but I feel like Bronson Koenig is still better. Bronson Koenig, I believe, was a better scorer than what Chucky is. Chucky is hesitant at times. He's a good scorer. I'm not saying he's not a good scorer, but Bronson Koenig, I believe, is a better scorer than what Chucky Hepburn is. Defender, I would probably say Chucky. I would say Chucky plays a little bit better on the defense just because he's a little get-after-you kind of guy. You look at the shooting guard position, that team would have had Josh Gosser in there at the shooting guard. Josh Gosser compared to Max Klesman, it's almost a wash. I mean, that's almost a wash if you ask me. Because Gosser was a good three-point shooter. Gosser could hit threes. So can Klesman. Both good defenders. Both get-after-you kind of guys. That's almost a wash if you ask me. So we would say right now I'm 3-0 with the 2014-2015. And then you look at this one's tough. I mean, Nigel Hayes compared to AJ Storr. That's a tough one. That's a toughie. Because if you look, Nigel Hayes in that 2014-2015 year, that would have been his sophomore year, I believe. And he played a major role for the Badgers in their Final Four and national championship runner-up run that they had there. I mean, Nigel Hayes played very well for the Badgers that year. I just want to look at his 12 points a game. Or, let's see once. Hold on. Hold your horses there, folks. I mean, that's tough. That's tough. This guy, I mean, Nigel Hayes put up good numbers in his sophomore year. And I would say that's a toughie. That's a toughie for me. I really, this is where you could use that second person to tell you what the heck you're trying to think of. I would say almost Nigel Hayes on that team because when I think about it, now I'm thinking about it too hard here. Now I'm confusing myself. Nigel Hayes averaged 12 a game in that year. 12 a game, 6 rebounds, and 2 assists for him in that season for the Badgers. And this would technically be, I mean, it's AJ Storr's first year with Wisconsin. but it's still his technically sophomore year, I guess you could say. It is a sophomore year, but it's not his second year with Wisconsin. That would have been Nigel Hayes' second year with them. AJ's averaging 16 a game with 3 rebounds. So if you ask me, instrumental part to the team, AJ Storr leads this basketball team scoring wise. He's the guy who gets you buckets. Nigel Hayes didn't have to be that guy. So we'll say that one. We'll give it to AJ Storr on that one. So AJ Storr wins that one, and that's what leads to the rest of it there. So I mean, it's definitely an interesting take by CBS to say the Badgers haven't had something like this in decades. That's definitely interesting right there. And my last thing with the Badgers here, just want to talk about Connor Essegian. He mentioned, and from what we've heard, he's staying in Madison this upcoming year. That's interesting because we're going to have Chucky back. We believe AJ Storr back. Max Klesman's coming back. And you're going to get Daniel Freitag in, so it's going to be a full guard room there. So interesting. A lot of people speculating maybe that means that AJ is going to be walking out the door. We haven't heard anything like that. I believe AJ Storr, the best thing for him is to come back to college for one more year. But you never know. You never know what's going to happen, especially transfers and everything like that. So it's going to be interesting, but I think it's a good thing. I think it's a great thing to keep Connor in there because this guy is still a great shooter, and he's going to develop even more, I would hope, in Madison. So I think it's a great thing that Connor Essegian is staying. I just wanted to mention those two things with the Badgers. We got lots more to talk about with the Badgers as the week goes on here because we're getting closer and closer to the opening tip of the Badgers and James Madison. But hey, like I said, we got to get into the bracket today. We got to get into the NCAA men's bracket. I got to tell you guys my picks. And we're going to see how our brackets compare. So I'm going to go through the field. I'm going to tell you who I got. So we're going to jump first off. We're going to look at the region belonging to the UConn Huskies. The number one team in I believe they are up there in that East region. Yes, sir. They are up there in that East region up there. So in that East region, I'm going to take UConn. That's going to be my team out of there. FAU Northwestern. This is a toughie. FAU's played poorly, I believe, on this year. I haven't been high on FAU all year. And I love the guard play with Northwestern. And it's going to be, I don't know if they'll have Nicholson back for that game, but I'm going to take Northwestern to win that game over UConn. UAB San Diego State. I'm going to take UAB to pull off the upset there over the Aztecs. Auburn and Yale. I believe Auburn will win that game. BYU and Duke's Nice. I'm going to take the Duke. I'm going to take the 11 seed to upset BYU. Then we have Illinois and Morehead State. I think this game is going to be better than what people think. I think Illinois will win it because they can shoot the lights out of a building, but I think that game's going to be close. Next up, we got Washington State and Drake. Give me Drake to win that game over Washington State. And then Iowa State taking on South Dakota State. Give me Iowa State. They're going to win that game in the first round. Next up, we have the West region. North Carolina and Wagner. Wagner played well. I'm not going to say Wagner's going to be a pushover team, but I believe North Carolina will win the 116 matchup. Michigan State, Mississippi State. Tom Izzo knows how to win in March. Give me Michigan State. St. Mary's and Grand Canyon. I got another 12-5 upset. I'll be honest with you. Another 12-5 upset. Alabama, Charleston. That's a tough one. Both teams play the exact same. They both want to speed it up. Alabama does it a little bit better. We're going to take Alabama to survive against Charleston. New Mexico and Clemson. That's going to be a good game there, but I think New Mexico will win that game. Baylor will beat Colgate. Nevada and Dayton. I got Nevada winning that game, and then Arizona and Long Beach State. Give me Arizona. Houston and Longwood. The Cougars will pull that one out. Nebraska and Texas A&M. I like Nebraska. I like my Big Ten teams. I think Nebraska is going to figure it out. They got good shooters, right? Good shooters. You got to have good guard play to win in March, and I believe that is exactly what Nebraska has with Tominaga. So good team there in Nebraska. Wisconsin and James Madison. No upset there. Give me the Badgers. Badgers going to win that one. Duke and Vermont. I think this is going to be a good game. I really do. And let me tell you, I'm going to take the upset. I don't want to take the upset. I'm going to take the upset. Vermont over Duke to advance to play Wisconsin. NC State and Texas Tech. Give me the Wolfpack to win that game there over Texas Tech. Kentucky and Oakland. I believe Kentucky will win that game there. And then we have Florida against the 10 seed, Boise State or Colorado. I'll take Florida in that one. And then Marquette to beat Western Kentucky. Purdue and Utah State, or Purdue and the play-in teams. I'm going to take Purdue. Utah State and TCU. Give me Utah State. Give me Utah State there. Gonzaga and McNeese. This is going to be another 12-5 upset. I'm telling you right now. 12-5 upset. Kansas, Samford. We found out McCullers will not play in the NCAA tournament for Kansas. So I'm going to take Samford. I'll be honest with you. This is going to be an upset. An upset for the ages there. Bill Self's going to get knocked out in the first round. South Carolina, Oregon. Give me Oregon in that upset. Creighton's going to beat Akron. And then we're going to have Texas over whoever gets in out of Virginia and Colorado State. And then Tennessee will win that game. St. Peter's will not make it to the Sweet 16 again. UConn, Northwestern. Give me UConn. Auburn and UAB. I got Auburn. Illinois is going to win that game there, and then I'm going to take Drake. Give me Drake to go 2 rounds. Drake's going to the Sweet 16. They're going to beat Iowa State. I don't like Iowa State. Give me Drake. Drake's going to pull it off and face Illinois in the Sweet 16. North Carolina, Michigan State's going to be a good game. The thing that this team in North Carolina lacks is more shooters. They don't have a lot of shooters on this team. They got RJ Davis. They got a couple other guys. They don't have a lot of good shooting. This is going to be a tough one. This is a tough game. I'm going to take North Carolina, but I think it's going to be close. I think the Fighting Izzos will keep that baby close. Alabama and Grand Canyon. I'm going to take Alabama to win that game. New Mexico is going 2 rounds. New Mexico is going to the Sweet 16. They're going to beat Baylor. And then Arizona will beat Nevada. Houston, Nebraska, that'll be Houston. Wisconsin versus Vermont. I got Wisconsin going to Sweet 16. Whether they play Duke or Vermont, I got them going to the Sweet 16. I think this Badger team, if they get rolling, they're a dangerous team coming down the stretch. NC State, Kentucky, I'm going to take Kentucky in that game there. And then Marquette and Florida, I got Marquette winning that game. Purdue against Utah State, I think Purdue will win that one. I got a 12-13 matchup here in the round of 32. That will be McNeese and Samford. Give me McNeese to go 2 rounds, going to the Sweet 16 here. Oregon and Creighton. It depends what Creighton team shows up. It really does. Oregon's playing very well heading into the big dance here. This is a toughie. This game is tough. I am going to take. Give me Creighton. Give me Creighton to win that one, and then Tennessee will beat Texas. I got UConn over Auburn, and then I'm going to take Illinois over Drake there. North Carolina and Alabama. I just believe that Alabama's got too much shooting. I really do. I think they will beat North Carolina out of the tournament. And then Arizona will beat New Mexico and go to the Elite Eight. Houston, Wisconsin, I believe could be a great game. I really do. Houston's a very good team. They're a very good defensive team. They're going to want a slow-scoring game, but if you take away the buckets that they want, the transition buckets that they do want, and you take away the offensive boards, it changes what Houston wants to do. I believe Houston. I'm not going to be that guy. I believe Houston will beat Wisconsin. I believe the track will run out on the Badgers here, but I think that's going to be a great game if they do square off. So I got Houston winning there. Marquette, Kentucky. I'll be honest with you. Kentucky is going to win that game. Kentucky can't play defense, but man, can they shoot that basketball. So I think Kentucky will win that one. Purdue and McNeese in the Sweet 16. Purdue is going to have a cakewalk here, followed by Creighton and Tennessee. I'm going to take Tennessee to advance to the Elite Eight. We got UConn and Illinois. UConn will win that game, and then Arizona will win the game there in the East-West. And then looking around, I'm going to take Kentucky over Houston, and then I'm going to take Tennessee. I'll be honest with you, I would take Tennessee over Purdue. I think they avenged that loss in Maui. I think it changes now. I think this team will win this one here against Purdue. UConn, Arizona. I'm going to take UConn. I got to be honest with you. UConn is a very good team, and I just don't. I look down the line, and I think Arizona really might be the last line of defense to knock off UConn. And Arizona, I just don't. UConn's got too much. They got depth, they got size, they got athleticism, they got it all. I got UConn moving on there. And then Tennessee and Kentucky. I'm going to take the Volunteers. I am going to take the Volunteers to win that one. I think the Volunteers will win that one against Kentucky. Kentucky's got the athleticism. They have the scoring. I mean, they have it all. They just can't play defense. And I think that will be the thing that kicks them there. Looking at their in-season matchups, they split. Tennessee won one of them 103-92, and in the other one they lost 85-81. So this team in Kentucky has taken some losses here. Tennessee, Gonzaga, Kansas over the year, but they also beat Alabama, beat Auburn, beat Tennessee once. Tennessee's got that loss to Purdue. They lost to Texas A&M and Kentucky, but they got good wins there. Alabama, Auburn, Kentucky, Alabama. Again, they beat Alabama twice. So this is a good Tennessee team. This would be a fantastic game. A shootout, I really do think, and I believe that Tennessee will win that shootout. And then UConn, Tennessee for the national championship. I think we're going to see the first back-to-back NCAA championship or NCAA champions since 2007 when Florida did it. I think that is where we will see. That's my bracket. I got UConn winning it all. I really do. It's hard to pick against them. I'd love to see another team get in there. Heck, I'd love to see the Badgers win a national championship every once in a while. But unrealistic, right? You got to be realistic when it comes to this. And I got UConn because I think they are undoubtedly the best team in college basketball. But it's madness. It's March Madness. Anything can happen, and we can't wait to watch it. So with that, that's all I got for today. We're going to get out of here for today. Had a lot to talk about today. We're going to get into more of it tomorrow here. We're getting excited, getting closer to the madness. We got lots to talk about with Badgers coming up this week here. So with that, this has been Wisconsin Sports on the Go with Trage. Thank you guys for listening. We'll catch you guys back here tomorrow. But until then, deuces.
Yeah, oh my Lord, watch me sway. Darkness falls and we all pray, hoping for the light of day. Down to the river I have held the